So I've ordered myself what's supposed to be a silent air compressor. For many years I've had a piston-driven air compressor on the top of that tank, and that powers my extracting equipment, among other things. But it makes a heck of a racket. It really diminishes the quality of life in the shop here. So I do a little research, and I was sitting at the dentist one day, and you know, they use a lot of compressed air to drive things there, and I asked him, how come I never hear a compressor running? So he told me about how they have these scroll compressors. So I did a little research, and that's what this is supposed to be. Just arrived moments ago. So we're going to pry it open and see if it's what we expect. So stay tuned.
Of course, to start filming when the one screws up.
Yeah. Well, I can't fault their crating technique anyway. Why don't we just grind those suckers off?
I mean,
Okay, let's see. I'll give you one more minute, and then I'm gonna lose patience. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Holy smokes. That's a little bigger than I expected, to be honest with you. We should take another side off of here. Hang on. Oop, the cover of this broke in transit. That's unfortunate. I imagine we could glue that back together pretty easy. That broke too. So the pressure air comes out of there. I hope there's a little wiring diagram here somewhere. Oh, there's a book. Specifications of oil-free scroll compressor. But basically, this plate will mount on top of the tank, and we'll get the right fittings to go there, and hopefully it's nice and quiet. It sure looks, it's kind of a two-stage operation here from the looks of things. This is like a big fan, almost like a turbo
That looks exactly like a turbo.
And then something else is going on in here. Maybe it just doesn't say anything about it being two-stage, but anyway, this, after extensive consultations with both my dentist and the expert at the Chinese company that makes this, we determined this was going to satisfy my needs for a quiet air compressor. So let's hope they're right. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I'll get her hooked up, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I think we got it sitting on the tank the way we're going to want it. I'm going to have to mount these rubber vibration dampers with some matching holes, and that's going to take a little bit of measuring. And I got it very preliminarily wired up here. And we're going to see if this is noisy. And we're also trying to figure out how this thing is wired up a little bit. So, power on. Oop. And now I think to make it run, I gotta press the green button. That's it running at full blast. It'll make some noise, but it's not. Actually, it'll be quieter once it's connected to the tank, because almost all that noise is the output.
Yeah. I mean, and we can have a conversation beside it.
Totally, yeah. So we're going to have to get a little fancy with our wiring here, because what we're going to want is, here's a 24 volt pin there, and we're going to wire this directly to the wall. Right now I'm using the original setup, the pressure switch, but because it's got to be triggered on, unless I can figure out how to pin that somehow. That's probably possible, right? Just to do, to have a like a shortcut, right?
Yeah.
So that whenever it's powered, it's running.
Yeah.
That would be one way to do it. I think the elegant way to do it is to wire this right to the wall and use my the existing pressure switch as a low voltage switch. And so the little bit of English or Chinese to English translation to figure out which one of these pins is going to be the one that turns it on. Oh, it's right here. Look at that. On is jumper 5. Connected to, J5. 485 out. Okay, well those numbers don't mean anything to these numbers. That'll be fun. We might be able to scan this. That's a different code, I think, than this one. We'll scan that code and see if it tells us what to do here. Anyway, it won't take too long to figure that out. Turn it on again. And also to know, the old compressor was didn't have a soft start like that.
Yeah, it was
so
hard.
The belt would squeal every time it started. This is going to be way nicer. Okay. Okay, it's actually been quite a few days since I last got on this project. I was looking at this thing the other night and I smelt a little bit of that weird smell of electrical burning. I thought, oh no, I've roasted it. And then I looked up and I realized it was my forklift battery that was fried. So that was a whole other catastrophe that we managed to avert. But I'm back on this tonight. So a couple things. One is the manual, which I'm sure has all the information I need, is only in Chinese. And there's occasional English words like danger and stop. And I've been back and forth with the supplier a couple of times. Surprisingly difficult to get support on this. The inverter is, I can get good information on this little display. I think that's a standard part that a lot of them use, but the actual inverter, while it is more or less a standard thing, you're not sure that everything is exactly the same. So a couple things I've learned so far. One is that when you hit go and it fires up, completely variable speed, so I can run it at anything that'll maintain. So you might find that running at that speed and volume is exactly what we'll need to maintain pressure. Maybe we'll need more, hard to say. But to turn it off again, you don't just hit the start. It's not like a start-stop. It's a separate stop button. So that makes me think that I'll need to probably have a different pressure switch, because I need to send a signal for pressure's high enough, stop, pressure's low, need to start. I have to have two different signals there. I might be able to do that with some sort of relay in there. I'm not sure about that yet. This thing is highly programmable. Is also, if I hold this program button down, I can get into all kinds of different alternatives here. I just don't know what those are. It might be that I can program it to be on-off on a single button. I looked at some online documentation for very similar models, and some of them had kind of, you program it a certain way, and you can just on a single, power on is start, power off is stop. I don't want to just, my research shows that I don't want to just power this thing on. You can kind of program it to just start at power on. It's kind of a power failure kind of setting, so that if it's meant to be something that runs all the time, it restarts itself off after a power failure. I can't believe that would be good for the electronics in this thing to be just have the power cut all the time, just by wired to the pressure switch. So I want it to be powered on and then have the pressure switch signal with a low voltage. Just these dip switches have various settings, and these input outputs have different voltages available, and at least some of them are for the HDMI kind of inputs if you wanted to be connected to a computer. So I'm thinking there's this TATDTC. I think that is what I want to connect to, but I can't get it to, when I connect those manually, I can't get it to trigger on. So I probably also need to program it. So I think I'm going to wind this video up here, and we'll wait for we'll have a roaring success when I finally get an English language version of the manual, or I find I'm going to start taking this to the farmer's market, and I occasionally have some of my logic students come by, and some of them are fluent in Chinese, and we'll see if we can't get some answers out of this. And also there's some optical scanners you can I tried to sort of get a Google Translate just by reading it, and because it's such technical language, it wasn't super helpful. So that's where we are right now. Love it. I can, just by hitting that button, I can pressurize my tank and it will turn itself off so nothing will blow up. But it's not the automatic function that an air compressor needs to have. So on the other hand, my hearing is appreciating not having that thing kick in with a great big screech of the belt and then the pounding of the piston compressor. So if anyone has any ideas, the brand is Jerusi, which for a Canadian is kind of fun because there was a TV star in the 70s who had the same name. And model is G520S-22S0040-B. And my understanding is that's a pretty standard copy of a different model. So I don't know if the programming is the same or not. All right, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.